always here for an FMC who doesn't play around and will just stab anyone if they need to. We're doing this. We're doing it. Hi, everybody. My name is Amanda, and this is actually my first BookTube video. I love reading. I love fantasy, especially. That's kind of the era I'm in right now, and I thought, why not make my own BookTube channel? So here we go. Two things. We are going to chat about books because I love chatting about books. And then we are also going to have a bevy of choice. I've got wine today because it's the weekend, but you might see me with coffee, iced coffee, or a bubbly. Doesn't matter. Bring your bevy, bring your books, and let's chat. We're just going to have a good time. You might also notice I do not have a beautiful wall of books behind me because I'm a library girl. It's not by choice. I mean, I do love the library, but I don't have a lot of money right now to be spending on wall-to-wall bookshelf full of new books. So I'm in my guest room because it's quiet and it has some natural light. And I've got my TBR books right there and my recently read books. And I've got my wine. I've got some flowers. We are good to go. Today, we are going to dive into my January and February reads. And I'm going to share with you what I reviewed. But first, let's get a drink. Wine. I'm a red wine girl. Red wine, I specifically love Cab. I'm also horrible at opening wine. Cheers. Let's talk about books. One other thing that you should know about me is I'm a little scatterbrained, and also words are hard. Words are very hard. I have a horrible time remembering previous titles of books that I've read, even if I've loved them, especially since I'm a library girl, so I return them, so I'm not like staring at those books anymore. And I have a horrible time remembering the authors. So if you ever see me looking like down, it's because I'm trying to like read what I said was the title of the book and the author, if I don't have it on hand. Yeah. Scatterbrained, words are hard. Let's try to remember what I read. I started off January, this new year, 2025, so strong. I read Ashes. See, this is, I'm horrible at this. I have to look at my notes because I forget. I read The Ashes and The Star-Cursed King, which I don't have on hand anymore. This is the second book in the Crowns of Nyaxia series. Our FMC is Araya. Our MMC is Rain. Love him. I love Araya too. She is a badass FMC, and I am always here for an FMC who doesn't play around, who's very confident, a secret warrior, and will just stab anyone if they need to. Carissa Broadbent is the author of this series. Crowns of Nyaxia is a 2-book series, a duet, but there is a novella in the middle that it's called like The Six Scorned Roses or something like that. I read it. You don't want to miss that one because the characters come into play in the one that I just read, The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, and you want to know those characters. And she's such a good author that she made me fall in love with these side characters in the novella within like 200 pages. It's a very short book, and I absolutely ate it up. In this book, the second book, we are reunited with Araya and Rain, and the first book definitely left me angry. Very angry, because in the first book it's not enemies to lovers, it's more like forced associates, because they're in trials together and they decide to be allies, forced allies to lovers, to then enemies again because of betrayal, and that's where it leaves you off. And so that's where we come in book 2, and it's a repairing of the friendship, really. And then, we see if they get back to lovers or not. But it's It's still action-packed. I love the characters just as much. And it definitely does leave you, because this is the end of the series. There's resolution at the end of this book. So I rated this 5 stars. So I started the year off very, very strong with this book. Then I moved on to From Blood and Ash. I knew that I wanted to start the year off reading this series, the From Blood and Ash series. I also knew it's going to be a journey. I'm still in it. How many books are there? I don't know. Maybe in From Blood and Ash, there's like, don't quote me. Maybe there's 7 out right now, 8, and more to come. But then you also need to tandem read it with the Flesh and Fire series, which is the prequel series. However, I hear that it's all interwoven, and the author leaves little breadcrumbs along the way of how it's all connected. So in combination, it's a lot of books. It's a big journey. I started off reading From Blood and Ash, and I rated this 5 stars. The FMC's name is Poppy. Love her. She is very, very similar, I think, to Araya in the series that I just finished, the Crowns of Nyaxia series, in that they are secret warriors. They're very well trained. They like to sneak out and stab some creatures. Just like the last series, this series blends mortals and vampires, and you have gods and primals and all of these. You have the werewolf kind of creatures. So From Blood and Ash mixes all it's very much world building, and it has a lot of different types of creatures going on. So if you really want to like dive into fantasy and get a taste of like vampires and mortals and gods, and this is your series. But how do I even start talking about Poppy? She's a maiden. And I don't even want to tell you what that means, because you're not really supposed to know Here's the thing. This book, if you've read ACOTAR, and you know how in ACOTAR you think you know in book 1, and then you really don't know anything at all, that's this series as well. You think you know Poppy's life and her purpose in life. You think you know the MMC that comes into her life. You don't know anything. And then the end of the book just blows everything up in your face. So you better have book 2 on hand. But when the book was done, I was very, very upset with the MMC. Very upset. From there, I didn't quite have the second book in that series ready from the library, so I switched gears and I read Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. And I've heard great things. You know, I'm on Goodreads. Follow me on Goodreads. I would love to connect, see what you're reading. I've seen this book everywhere, and it was ready for me at the library, so we went into this. I rated this, was it 3.5 stars? Maybe it could be 3.75. So this is a good book. It was fun. I was in it, but it just lacked something. Maybe it's because I just read From Blood and Ash, which is it has such intricate world building and character development. This one just kind of fell flat for me. I love the general premises of it. The main character, or FMC, she is a healer. She's a mortal in this world that has different, I forget what the author describes it, but think of different like districts in the world. And some districts have mortals, some districts have fae, some districts have a combination. Hers has a combination. And she's a healer, but she's actually on a search for her mother, who's missing, who was the healer to the like royals in the district. And so she tries to, fill her mother's shoes. And of course, that's where she meets the MMC. Luther, I believe is his name. Now, he is carrying this book. The unfortunate thing is that he's not in this book that much. So anytime you get to a part where he's in it, I love it. I don't have a problem with the MMC. It's just, they're supposed to be enemies to lovers, but there was no real time for them to be enemies. So it was more like, I don't like you during our initial interaction, but we're going to be lovers. However, that hasn't really happened yet in this book. So it's just, there's more to come. I'm definitely going to continue the series, but it's just when you compare it to some of these other more in-depth series I've read, it's not to me, it's not a 4 or 5-star read, but it's a good time. And we'll see, maybe book two, it really like gets going and we see the MMC more. Once I was done with the Everflame, woo, book 2 of From Blood and Ash was ready for me at the library, and this is called A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. And I was really, really hoping it was just gonna like pick up right where book 1 left off. I don't like when a series, when the author feels like for book 2 or book 3, they have to recap everything that happened. No, let's go. I just read book 1. I'm not gonna pick up book 2 without reading book 1. Let's go. I don't need a recap. And that's exactly what the author did. She just picked it right back up. And kind of like with ACOTAR, I read ACOTAR in one big chunk last August and September. But the minute I read Poppy and Castile, it was like I was coming home to these characters, and that was only after one book. So it just felt good. It felt good to be in book 2. I rated this 5 stars again. I was dabbling between 4.5 and 5, only because the action in this book and the emotions that I had in this book weren't the level of book 1. However, the world building needed to happen, and just this tension and slow burn and like, are we enemies again? Are we lovers again? Will we ever be lovers? So much betrayal happened in book 1. Everything was turned upside down. The FMC needed time to understand everything, and so did I. I was like living these surprises that happened at the end of book 1 with Poppy because I didn't see any of it coming. So I, as a reader, needed time to like decide, do I like the MMC? Do I want to continue this journey? Should she continue this journey, or should she just literally murder everybody because she's angry and I'm angry for her? So this book just kind of like gave the characters time to figure it out, but there's such tension between the two that my heart was just beating out of my chest, in my throat, because I just want them to be okay. But I understand if that's not what the FMC Poppy wanted. So I was just in suspense the whole time, meaning I was obsessed with the book, so I rated it 5 stars. And things get better with the characters, but then once again, we're left with like everything blown up in literally the last 20 pages. I learned my lesson, and when I got book 2 from the library, I got book 3. So that's ready. That was what I was going to read next, but I decided to give my brain just like a cleanse of fantasy for a minute. And I decided to read, I actually still have this one, the third Gilmore Girl by Kelly Bishop. This is her memoir. She's previously known as Carol Bishop. And I am a Gilmore Girls fanatic. I can't even tell you how many times I have watched the series. I watched it live growing up as a teenager and in college, and then I watched it so many times on Netflix. I have the DVD boxes, but then when it came on Netflix, watched it a ton of times then. Just to kind of tell you how Gilmore Girls shaped my life, I married a man named Luke who wears a baseball cap, wears flannels, and is very scruffy. I also drink like a pot. We're talking like 3/4 of a pot to a pot of black coffee a day. Yeah, it's not a good thing. I mean, I'm not getting all that added sugar from creamer and stuff, but yeah, so maybe that shaped me as well. This that doesn't help you. This is a must read if you are a Gilmore Girls fan. Amy Sherman Palladino does the foreword, and right away that made me obsessed with the book because she talks about the casting of Kelly, and there's so much to her history, what she went through. It's a story. If you read Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey, and he talks about like catching all the green lights in life and just saying yes, that's what she did. Like, she was just a girl basically being raised by a single mom in Denver, Colorado. Her dad was a deadbeat and left them, and her mom just signed her up, actually worked in the studio so that she could get free dance lessons, and just through connections, through little opportunities, she found herself later on Broadway and became the professional dancer that she is, and then became, through just other little opportunities that just either fell in her lap. Well, they did fall in her lap. I mean, she earned them because she's talented, but it's again like she caught them. She didn't just let those opportunities pass by. Then she became an actress and ended up on Gilmore Girls, and the Gilmore Girls section is about 200 pages in, but it's worth it. Her whole life story is worth it. I rated this 5 stars. Okay, it's really hard to not rate someone's life 5 stars because it's their life. But yeah, is she the best writer out there? No, but her story's gripping, and of course you're waiting to get to the Gilmore Girls section of the book. Now that I have read this, I have to watch Gilmore Girls again, but like a revelation just hit me the other day. I've only watched Gilmore Girls in my teens and in my 20s, where of course I was relating to Rory. Let's just say I'm a smidge older than Lorelai was in season 1. That's scary. So now when I watch it, I'm probably going to relate more to Lorelai, which is crazy. I also know Lauren Graham wrote a memoir that I still haven't read, Talking as Fast as You Can, I think. And I'm probably going to get that soon. And if she narrates it, I'm definitely listening to her because I love her. And I love how also words are hard for her in real life because she just talks really fast, similar to me. So then I was in a conundrum. Do I start book 3 of From Blood and Ash, which I have, or do I start the book that I literally just picked up from Barnes & Noble yesterday, which was Quicksilver? Because I can't find Quicksilver in the library at all. It's not even stocked in my county's library. I live in a small mountain town. So I had a gift card burning in my pocket. I went and I bought Quicksilver, and I decided that I could not sleep on this book. So I put it on my TBR pile and I picked it right back up. I have seen this everywhere online and in Goodreads, and everyone rates it 5 stars and says it's amazing. And I kind of really love the fact that at the moment it's a standalone. I know the next book's set to be released in November, but I just kind of like the fact that I could read this and then move on, and then give myself time to reread it in the fall when book 2 comes out. So yep, I dove right into this last night, and it is massive. It's massive. I haven't even met him yet, I don't think, because I just started. I can't wait. So after this, which I'm sure will be a 5-star read based on other reviews, I will go back into From Blood and Ash. I had like an awesome January and February, mostly all 5 stars. I hope I'm not like loose with my 5 stars. Like, I read a lot 5 stars, but I also feel like I've read a lot of good books. I did not rate Spark of the Everflame 5 stars, and I read some not 5-star books in December. January and February, though, started out with a bang, chef's kiss, wine. If you want to keep up with me and hear more about what I'm reading, I plan on releasing a video like every weekend, hopefully. I still have to edit this bad boy, and I've never edited a YouTube video before, so we shall see. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. I hope you got yourself a beverage too. If you've read any of these books, I would love to know your thoughts on them, what you rated them in the comments. If you read Quicksilver, I would love to know. Please hit subscribe if you enjoyed hanging out with me, and I will see you next time. Cheers.